Following on with our Buttercream Flowers for beginners, today I'm going to be showing you how to pipe these two gorgeous flowers for your floral cupcakes. For the full buttercream recipe, you want to be watching the tutorial Buttercream Flowers for Beginners Part 1. So far we have 4 separate tutorials showing you how to make different flowers. As always, everything you need to know, straight to the point, step by step. Let's make a start. Just for clarity, you can make the carnation using just one piping tip, and that is tip number 102, and it is seen here in the middle of this camcorder footage. I am using 102 and 104 to give it more definition, and the one on the right hand side is a tip number 12, but you can simply cut off the end of your piping bag. So for the carnation, this is the 104 and it is a teardrop shape. The 102 is shaped in the same way, however it's a lot smaller, and when I put them next to each other you will see why. I will be piping the centre with the 102 and around the outside with the 104. So this is my piping bag. I have attached a number 12 piping nozzle onto the end. Half of it is filled with more of a peach coloured buttercream and half is filled with a pink. This is just to give the flower a bit more texture. Taking your cupcake, you want to start by just piping a blob bang in the centre. This is just to help the carnation be more raised. I then place this in the fridge for a short while just to allow it to set. You then change your tip to a tip 102. You want the thick end of the teardrop just touching the cupcake, and just do little wriggles, gently squeezing and then pulling away. I'm just filling the centre where we have added that blob first. Now we are on a tip number 104 and we just repeat that process, but the petals are just that little bit larger, which is perfect because we've added that blob to the centre. We've then placed petals on top of there, so it all equals out and looks beautiful. And there is your finished carnation. For our second flower, we need a rim along the outside. So for this, I'm using tip number 12. However, because of the shape, you can simply cut off the end of a piping bag. Now using tip 104 with the thick end of the teardrop touching the cupcake and the thin part facing away, we're simply going to pipe petals all along that rim that we have just added. Just gently squeeze the piping bag and then release, and you want to go around all of the outside. Take your time doing this and get them as relatively small as possible. Simply repeat that process, doing another row just on the inside of those petals that you have just done. So here I have tip number 81, and this is actually used in one of my very first tutorials. It's a U shape and it creates very delicate petals. Simply add a small amount of pressure, release the pressure as you pull away, and you will be left with this stunning petal. I add a few layers of this before removing the buttercream from the piping bag, making it a slightly darker pink but only very slight, and then simply add it back to the piping bag, as I will be using tip number 81 to finish off the centre of this stunning flower. So I've added a small blob of buttercream directly to the centre, and all I'm going to do now is start piping around it. Again, this is the number 81 petal tip. It's a simple U shape. This is a slightly darker pink. To be fair, I think it would have looked better if it had been even darker, so don't be afraid to go really wild and add more food colouring. And then you simply want to finish off this flower using this technique. It's the very small petals that bring it to life. If your buttercream gets a little bit soft, just remember to add it to the fridge for a short period of time, and it really is as simple and as easy as that. Happy baking, everyone. Thank you all for your amazing support, and I'll be back soon with an awful lot more new, completely free content.